Well, at one level, I'm tempted to say, now carrying on this theme of educational transformation, I'd like to move the discussion into thinking about how to link education and neuroscience, linking these fundamentally social processes and educational processes to the life and biological sciences. And are we to the point where we can bring conversations happening? At another level, I'm tempted to quote Monty Python and say, and now for something completely different, because we're shifting levels entirely to think about what's going on with elementary school. Really focusing on the earliest years of formal education in elementary school, I think, is really fascinating for a number of reasons. This is a time in which the human mind and the human brain is undergoing tremendous transformations. There are new cognitive abilities that are emerging before our eyes on the scale of months and years, in which children are able to do new things with their minds that they couldn't do before, just even a couple of months or years before, such as the ability to fluently recognize their native language from a completely new modality of looking at visual words, or the ability to make exact computations about exact numerosities and building up these symbols and these insights into how quantities relate. And also general abilities such as executive function abilities, which allow children for very long periods of time to focus their mind in a very goal-directed way and resist temptations to be impulsive. And all of these things are happening in the context of formal education in schooling. At the same time, these changes are supported by fundamental changes that are occurring in the human brain. And I'm interested in thinking about this. In the particular case of reading, thinking about the transformation from being a pre-reader to a skilled reader from a systems-level neuroscience perspective is kind of staggering. What's going on is nothing short of a systems-level massive reorganization of brain systems in which children are able to take fully articulated, there's a laser pointer somewhere, fully articulated cortical regions that process human speech, mapped out here in blue. This is the brain area which is most responsive when just being passively exposed to human speech, and integrating them exquisitely and rapidly with regions that are associated with processing visual symbols, such that an integrated circuit is being formed which didn't exist before, in which now you can look at one out of what might be 50,000 potential visual word forms and map them precisely, rapidly, and automatically to one of what might be 50,000 or more spoken word forms. The brain is building this circuit very, very rapidly, in a sense, before our eyes as we're watching these children develop. So we can study this complex, socially relevant phenomena from two very different perspectives and maybe start to form a collaboration across these very different ways of knowing and these very different ways of investigating. The level of classroom studies and as the level of neural system studies. And what I think is starting to emerge here is a very interesting conversation around a couple of very specific questions. And I want to focus the rest of the talk on two very specific questions about how I think there could be some kind of fruitful collaboration between people studying at the classroom level or at the individual learner level or the psychological level and people studying changes at the brain level. This first question that I have down here is, how do brain systems differ for individual learners? Now, I want to review some evidence that might suggest that the brain systems of individual learners differ in important ways. We tend to think of, we have a categorical representation of the healthy human brain. As long as there's no brain damage, it doesn't matter. Sure, there's individual differences in the brain, but they're completely irrelevant if we're talking about a healthy human brain. But more and more evidence is starting to emerge that there are important individual differences that kids bring to specific learning tasks that wind up playing out in the transformation that they have as, for instance, from pre-reader to skilled reader.